me that again.
Well, it feels like coming back home. That's number one. And yes, the last time I was here, I was in a directorial capacity, and so this time I'm back in my number one gig, which is to be a playwright.
For the first two productions that the play has had in the UK, you directed both of those. And what is you're talking about what the difference is between just directing and playwriting.
Yeah.
But are there certain things that have popped up in the play, certain themes, or?
Well, what's really interesting is that this was the first play of my own that I had directed. It really is a tale of my mother. It was my communication with my mother, who had passed a few years before. What's really interesting now, and really enjoyable now, actually, is a few years later, stepping back from it and letting that communication come from the actors.
Dad.
No, don't dad me. Tell me why would you find the truth offensive?
Maybe because it's not.
Not what?
The truth! You know, this isn't worth arguing about.
Why? Because you can't defeat my thesis, that's why.
That's right, Dad. I'll never be able to defeat your superior intelligence.
That's right.
So hearing the most magnificent Avery Brooks, and he is just amazing. But to hear him say things in the way that my mother said them, to hear him, do catchphrases in the way that one of my uncles would, really has hit me quite fresh. And also dramaturgically, I think what's really interesting is, a play is never complete. It fulfills its purpose at that point in time. And this play coming to America, and me having to listen to it also with an American ear, and having to sometimes say to you, all right, I disagree, but yeah, I might cut that line because you're right. Maybe it needs a better translation, or maybe it doesn't live or doesn't land here. I think is wonderful. It's been a wonderful experience. And just also, as I said, more importantly, sitting back and watching you kind of gently lead the actors to places I go, oh, he knows that. Oh, okay, good. That's great. That's great. And having that sense of safety. So that's really been the pluses.
No, I see where you're from. What country you're born?
Oh, Poland. Why you laugh?
Well, look at me crosses. My children really don't know me. Them don't send me a non-English speaking immigrant to look after my needs.
One of the things that I think people talk about when they, it was my experience when I've worked from other countries, certainly. I think people think there's a word here or a word there. We've got to translate a word so an American audience can understand. But because of the place that you write from, because of this particular play, some of the shifts that are not just, well, I'd say loo, well, I'd say bathroom. It's not sort of that simple, is it?
No, it's not. It's not that simple. Because one is talking about transferring or translating, if it needs to happen, whole phrases. And they have different connotations if you put different words in different places. I mean, I'm slightly obsessive, as all playwrights must be, about precision, about making sure that people understand what you're trying to say. So I'm not one of those playwrights who gets precious and says, oh no, my lines, oh my line, no. I'm like, let's cut it, let's change it, And what's been fun is you going, no, let's keep it. Let's keep that bit. And I'm going to go, are you sure? And audience, you're like, yes, we'll get it. And I've really enjoyed that to and fro thus far as well. How have you felt as a white American directing a piece, quintessentially, that is written by a black Brit? What's your math? How have you accessed it?
Well, it's interesting because I think people don't sort of approach it from a certain cultural perspective, but I think actually half of our job is actually doing the work first, which is to understand, and then a piece of it is to figure out where you can let go as a director and where you have to pay fierce attention to a cultural detail. Which is why, again, it's a blessing that you're here to sort of say, do you mean this? Was your writing intention this thing? And we can then, it's our job as the actors and I to sort of collaborate and figure out, well, what makes the most sense in this moment for us, these actors, in this rehearsal. And they just gratefully had an incredible chemistry with one another. Gretchen, who was here doing Importance of Being Earnest, is now playing opposite Avery.
Send them to darkness, things like fire in the mountains.
Bravo! Bravo! Fantastic!
And Pascal Armand, who's I think her first time here at Center Stage.
3 weeks and the place looking better already, wide. Look like Polish working hard.
Look what you're paying a fine.
In it.
It's just, they're wonderful.
They are. They really are. Well done, you. Good casting.
Well done, them.